The rain hammered against the windows of the university medical library as Zara Chen hunched over her textbooks at 3 in the morning. Her fingers traced the complex diagrams of genetic therapy while her mind raced with desperate calculations. Every page she turned brought her closer to understanding the rare condition that was slowly stealing her grandmother away from her. Zara's dark eyes burned with exhaustion, but she refused to close them. Sleep was a luxury she couldn't afford when grandmother May was fighting for every breath in the small apartment they shared across the city. The old woman who had raised her after her parents died in a factory accident was now battling genetic cascade syndrome, a condition so rare that only 3 cases had been documented worldwide. The medical bills were crushing them. Zara worked for part-time jobs while maintaining her perfect grades in medical school, but it wasn't enough. The experimental treatments cost more money than she could earn in 10 lifetimes. Every doctor she had consulted gave the same grim prognosis. 6 months, maybe less. Zara refused to accept defeat. She had spent weeks researching every pharmaceutical company, every research facility, every possible lead that might offer hope. That was when she discovered Stellar Technologies, the mysterious corporation owned by the equally mysterious Captain Draven Steele. Like other companies that focused on traditional medicine, Stellar Technologies specialized in what they called advanced biotechnology research. The problem was getting their attention. Zara had sent dozens of emails, made countless phone calls, even camped outside their gleaming downtown headquarters for 3 days straight. Security had politely but firmly escorted her away each time. Tonight, she was taking a different approach. Zara gathered her research papers and stuffed them into her worn backpack. The security guard at the library barely looked up as she signed, out too accustomed to seeing her there at all hours. Outside, the October storm had intensified, turning the streets into rivers of yellow light from the street lamps. She pulled her thin jacket tighter and began the long walk downtown. By the time she reached the Stellar Technologies building, she was soaked to the bone, but more determined than ever. The 60-story glass tower stretched into the stormy sky. Like a beacon of hope, its upper floors disappearing into the low-hanging clouds. The main entrance was locked, of course, but Zara had noticed something during her previous visits. The loading dock on the east side of the building had a security door that didn't quite latch properly. She had watched delivery trucks come and go, seeing how the drivers used their key cards to enter. Zara made her way around the building, her heart pounding with each step. Breaking into a major corporation wasn't exactly part of her life plan, but desperate times called for desperate measures. She found the loading dock and carefully examined the security door. Just as she had observed, it hung slightly ajar. Taking a deep breath, Zara slipped inside. The service corridors were dimly lit and surprisingly warm after the cold rain outside. She followed the signs toward the elevators, her wet shoes squeaking softly on the polished floors. Her plan was simple: find someone in authority, present her research, and refuse to leave until they agreed to help. The elevator required a key card, but Zara had come prepared. During her undergraduate computer science courses, she had learned a few things about electronic locks. It took her 20 minutes of careful work with a small device she had built, but finally the elevator doors slid open. She pressed the button for the top floor. As the elevator climbed higher and higher, Zara rehearsed her speech. She would be professional, persuasive, and passionate. She would make them understand that her grandmother's life was worth saving, that the research data from her case could help others with similar conditions. The elevator stopped at the 60th floor with a soft chime. The doors opened to reveal a reception area that looked more like a luxury hotel lobby than a corporate office. Soft lighting illuminated elegant furniture and expensive artwork, while floor-to-ceiling windows offered a breathtaking view of the city below, despite the storm. But what caught Zara's attention was the man standing at the windows with his back to her. Even in silhouette, he commanded attention. Tall and broad-shouldered, he stood perfectly still as he gazed out at the storm-lashed city. His dark hair was slightly longer than corporate standard, and he wore a simple black sweater and jeans instead of a business suit. When he turned around, Zara's breath caught in her throat. Captain Draven Steele was nothing like the stern businessman she had imagined from the few photos she had found online. He was younger than she expected, perhaps 32, with striking features that seemed carved from marble. His eyes were the color of silver, intense and piercing. But there was something else there too. Pain, maybe, or a deep loneliness that matched her own. "Miss Chen," he said, and his voice was smooth and cultured, with just a hint of an accent she couldn't identify. "I've been expecting you." Zara stared at him in shock. "You know who I am?" A slight smile played at the corners of his mouth. "You've been quite persistent in your attempts to reach me. Breaking into my building, however, is a new approach." Heat flooded Zara's cheeks. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. My grandmother is dying and no one will listen, and I thought maybe if I could just explain." Draven held up a hand, stopping her rambling apology. "No need to apologize." I admired determination. "Would you like some coffee? Look like you could use something warm." Without waiting for an answer, he moved to a sleek kitchenette tucked into one corner of the office. Zara watched in amazement as the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar corporation prepared coffee with practiced ease. "You mentioned your grandmother," Draven said as he worked. "Genetic cascade syndrome, if I'm not mistaken." Zara's eyes widened. "I make it my business to know about rare genetic conditions. Your emails were quite detailed." He handed her a steaming mug and gestured for her to sit on the leather sofa facing his desk. "Then you'll help us?" Hope bloomed in Zara's chest, like a flower breaking through concrete. Draven studied her for a long moment, those silver eyes seeming to see straight through to her soul. "Tell me about her, not the medical details. Tell me about the woman." So Zara did. She found herself speaking about Grandmother May with a warmth and love that surprised her, describing not just her condition, but the incredible woman who had raised her. She talked about the stories May told about her childhood in China, about her strength in raising Zara alone after the accident, about her wisdom and endless capacity for love. "She taught me that love is the most powerful force in the universe," Zara said softly. "That it can overcome any obstacle, heal any wound. Even now, when she can barely remember my name some days, she still tells me she loves me." Draven listened, with an intensity that made Zara feel truly heard for the first time in months. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "There's something I need to show you," he said finally, standing and walking to what appeared to be a blank wall. He pressed his palm against a hidden scanner, and a section of the wall slid away to reveal another elevator. "Where are we going?" Zara asked, as they stepped inside. "Sublevel 12. To meet someone who might be able to help your grandmother." The elevator descended much farther than Zara had expected. When the doors finally opened, she gasped at what she saw. They were in what looked like a medical facility from a science fiction movie. The walls were made of some kind of smooth, iridescent material that seemed to pulse with its own inner light. Strange symbols were etched into the surfaces, glowing softly in patterns that hurt to look at directly. "Captain Steele," Zara whispered, "what is this place?" Draven turned to look at her, and for the first time since they had met, his expression was completely serious. "Miss Chen, what I'm about to show you will change everything you thought you knew about the universe. Are you prepared for that?" Zara thought about her grandmother, lying in their small apartment, growing weaker each day. She thought about the stack of medical bills on their kitchen table and the hopeless expressions on every doctor's face. Had consulted. "Yes," she said firmly. "I'm prepared for anything if it means saving her." Draven nodded and led her deeper into the facility. As they walked, Zara became aware of a low humming sound, almost like music, but not quite. The air itself seemed different here, charged with energy that made her skin tingle. They stopped in front of a door that looked like it belonged on a spacecraft rather than in an office building. Draven placed his hand on another scanner, and the door iris opened with a soft whoosh. Inside was a laboratory unlike anything Zara had ever seen. Holographic displays floated in the air, showing complex molecular structures that rotated slowly in 3 dimensions. Equipment hummed and beeped softly, monitoring processes she couldn't begin to understand. And standing at the center of it all was a figure that made Zara's world tilt on its axis. At first glance, it looked almost human, tall and slender, with graceful movements and an elegant bearing. But the skin had a subtle blue-silver tone that seemed to shift in the light. and the eyes were large and luminous, colored like deep ocean water. Most striking of all were the delicate, almost translucent, structures that extended from either side of its head, pulsing gently with bioluminescent patterns. "Miss Chen," Draven said calmly, as if introducing her to nothing more unusual than a new colleague. "I'd like you to meet Neith. Neith is a healer from the Valdorian Empire, and they have been working with us to develop treatments for genetic conditions that human medicine cannot cure." Zara stared in stunned silence as the being turned toward them. When it spoke, its voice was like wind chimes in a gentle breeze, musical and soothing. "Greetings, Zara Chen. I have been studying the genetic profile of your grandmother. Her condition is indeed serious, but not beyond our ability to treat." The world seemed to spin around Zara as the full implications of what she was seeing hit her. Aliens. Real aliens. Were working with humans to cure diseases. And this alien knew about her grandmother. "I don't understand," she whispered. Draven moved to stand beside her, his presence somehow steadying in the midst of her shock. "Stellar Technologies is much more than a pharmaceutical company, Zara. We are humanity's first official contact with alien civilizations. For the past 5 years, we have been working secretly with species like Nith's people to advance human medicine and technology." Nith approached them with fluid grace, its large eyes fixed on Zara with what seemed like kindness. "Your grandmother's genetic pattern is unique among humans. If we can successfully treat her condition, it will provide valuable data for helping others with similar ailments. But more than that, her genetic markers suggest she is descended from one of the early human Valdorian hybrids from centuries ago." "Hybrids?" Zara's voice cracked. "Long ago, some of my people visited your world and formed relationships with humans. The children of those unions carry genetic gifts that sometimes manifest generations later. Your grandmother is one such descendant, and so are you." Zara felt her knees buckle, but Draven's strong arm was there to steady her. She looked up into his silver eyes and saw understanding and compassion there. "This is why you were expecting me," she said, the pieces finally clicking together. "You've been watching us. We've been watching over families like yours for generations," Draven confirmed. "Waiting for the right moment to make contact. Your determination to save your grandmother, your refusal to give up, convinced us that you were ready to learn the truth." Nith moved closer, and Zara caught a scent like ocean breeze and starlight. "We can begin treatment for your grandmother immediately. But Zara Chen, you must understand that accepting our help means accepting a much larger role in the future of human-alien relations." Zara thought about her grandmother, about the love that had shaped her entire life, about the promise she had made to never stop fighting for the people she cared about. "What do you need me to do?" she asked. As the words left her mouth, Zara realized that her life had just taken a turn toward something incredible and terrifying and absolutely extraordinary. Looking into Draven's eyes, she felt something else. Stirring in her chest besides hope for her grandmother's recovery, something that felt remarkably like the beginning of love, the medical transport to Grandmother May's. The apartment felt like traveling between two different worlds. Just hours ago, Zara had been in an alien laboratory 60 floors beneath the streets of Chicago, watching beings from another star system analyze her grandmother's genetic code. Now, she sat beside Draven in his sleek black vehicle, trying to process everything that had happened. "Are you all right?" Draven asked softly, his silver eyes studying her face with concern. "I know this is overwhelming." Zara turned to look at him, this mysterious man who had just turned her entire understanding of reality upside down. In the soft glow of the dashboard lights, his features seemed almost ethereal, and she found herself wondering if he was entirely human himself. "I keep thinking I'm going to wake up and discover this was all a dream," she admitted. "Aliens, genetic hybrids, secret facilities. It sounds like something from a science fiction movie." Draven's hand found hers, his fingers warm and reassuringly solid. "I felt the same way when Nith's people first made contact with me 5 years ago. I was running a small tech startup, barely keeping my head above water financially. Then they arrived and changed everything." "How did they choose you?" Zara asked, grateful for the distraction from her spinning thoughts. A shadow passed across Draven's face. They didn't choose me initially. They were looking for my sister. The pain in his voice made Zara's heart clench. What happened to her? Genetic. Cascade syndrome, Draven said quietly. The same condition your grandmother has. By the time the Valdorians found us, it was too late to save her. But her death helped them understand the condition better, and they asked me to help them prevent other families from going through what we did. Zara squeezed his hand, understanding now why he had been so willing to help her. They shared the same loss, the same desperation to save someone they loved. I'm sorry. Don't be. Her sacrifice has helped us save dozens of lives over the past 5 years. And now, hopefully, we can save your grandmother too. They pulled up outside the modest apartment building where Zara had lived with grandmother. May for the past 6 years? The contrast between this working-class neighborhood and the gleaming towers of downtown couldn't have been starker. But Draven showed no sign of discomfort as he helped her out of the car. Nith is already inside, he said, noticing her surprised expression. Valdorians can teleport short distances using their bioenergy fields. It's one of their many abilities. Zara led him up 3 flights of stairs to her apartment, her heart hammering with nervousness. How did you introduce your dying grandmother to an alien healer and the man you were rapidly falling in love with? She unlocked the door and stepped inside, immediately hearing voices from the bedroom. But instead of alarm, she heard something. She hadn't heard in months, her grandmother's laughter. They found Grandmother May sitting up in bed, looking more alert than she had in weeks. Nith stood beside her. The alien's luminescent features soft with concentration as healing energy flowed between their delicate hands and the old woman's forehead. Zara, my dear child, Grandmother May called out, her voice stronger than it had. Been in months. You didn't tell me you had such interesting friends. Nith turned toward them, their ocean blue eyes bright with satisfaction. The initial treatment is responding well. The genetic cascade has been halted, and cellular regeneration has begun. Zara felt tears of relief streaming down her face. Grandmother. How do you feel? It's like I could climb mountains, May replied with a grin. This beautiful being has been telling me the most fascinating stories about their homeworld. Did you know they have floating cities that move with the tides of their purple seas? Draven stepped forward, and Zara watched her grandmother's sharp eyes take in every detail of his appearance. Despite her illness, May had always been an excellent judge of character. Grandmother May, Zara said, "This is Captain Draven Steele. He's the one who made all this possible." May studied Draven for a long moment, then smiled warmly. "So you're the man who's been making my granddaughter's eyes light up." Heat flooded Zara's cheeks. "Grandmother, what? I may have been sick, but I'm not blind. You've been different these past few hours, child. Happier, more hopeful." May's gaze shifted between Zara and Draven with obvious approval. "It's about time someone saw what a treasure you are." Draven moved closer to the bed, his expression respectful. "Your granddaughter is extraordinary, Mrs. Chen. Her determination to save you impressed even the Valdorians. Please, call me May. And yes, my Zara has always been special. Even as a little girl, she never gave up on anything or anyone she cared about." Nith's melodic voice interrupted their conversation. "The treatment will require several more sessions over the next week. However, I must inform you that there may be some unusual side effects as the Valdorian genetic markers in your bloodline become more active." "What kind of side effects?" Zara asked. "Enhanced intuition, increased empathy, possibly some minor telepathic abilities. Nothing dangerous. But you may find yourselves more sensitive to the emotions and thoughts of others." Grandmother May chuckled. "At my age, a few new abilities might be fun. What about Zara?" Nith's large eyes fixed on Zara with an intensity that made her skin tingle. "Zara's genetic markers are much stronger than yours, May. She carries the potential for significant abilities, enhanced healing, energy manipulation, possibly even the ability to communicate across species barriers." Zara felt the room spinning around her again. "I don't understand. What does this mean?" Draven moved to stand beside her, his presence steadying. "It means you're more important to the future of human-alien relations than we initially realized. Your genetic compatibility could help bridge the gap between our species." "But I just wanted to save my grandmother," Zara whispered. "And you have," Nith said gently. but the universe has a way of bringing the right people together at the right time. Your love for May led you to us, and now you have the opportunity to help many others." Grandmother May reached out and took Zara's hand in her increasingly strong grip. "My dear child, do you remember the stories I used to tell you about our ancestors? About the strange dreams and visions that ran in our family?" Zara nodded. Her grandmother had always spoken of family members who seemed to know things they shouldn't, who could sense danger or illness before others, who had an unusual connection to the natural world. "I think those weren't just stories," May continued. "I think we've always carried something special in our blood, waiting for the right time to emerge." Neth approached Zara, moving with that fluid grace that seemed to defy gravity. "May I?" they asked, extending one of their luminescent hands. Zara hesitated for a moment, then nodded. The moment Nith's fingers touched her forehead, the world exploded into sensation. She could feel Grandmother May's renewed vitality, Draven's protective concern, Nith's ancient wisdom, and something else. Something vast and interconnected that seemed to span the stars themselves. Images flashed through her mind. Vast alien. Cities, humans, and Valdorians working together. Children with features that blended both species, and always, always, the sense of love and cooperation that could overcome any obstacle. When the connection ended, Zara gasped and found herself supported by Draven's strong arms. His silver eyes were wide with amazement. "What did you see?" he asked softly. "The future," Zara whispered. "A future where our species aren't just allies, but family." Nith's bioluminescent patterns pulsed with what Zara somehow knew was approval. "You have the gift of farsight, Zara Chen. Very few possess such clarity of vision." Over the next several hours they talked and planned. Nith continued. Grandmother May's treatments, while explaining more about Valdorian culture and technology. Draven shared details about the secret cooperation between humans and several alien species, including trade agreements, technological exchanges, and joint research projects. "How many people know about this?" Zara asked as they sat around her. Small kitchen table, sharing tea that Nith had brought from their home world. The beverage tasted like starlight and honey, and she could feel it energizing her on a cellular level. "Perhaps 200 humans worldwide," Draven replied. "Government officials, researchers, individuals like yourself, with genetic compatibility. We've been building slowly, preparing humanity for eventual full disclosure. When will that happen?" Nith's expression grew serious. "Sooner than originally planned." "There are other species in this galaxy, not all of them friendly to either humans or Valdorians. We may need to accelerate the timeline for full contact." Grandmother May, who had been listening quietly, spoke up. "There's going to be a war, isn't there?" The silence that followed confirmed her intuition. Finally, Draven nodded. "Intelligence suggests that the Kethmer Empire is planning aggressive expansion into this sector. Earth sits at a strategically important location, and both humans and Valdorians would be targets." "What can we do?" Zara asked, though part of her already knew the answer. "We prepared," Draven said simply. "We strengthen the bonds between our species, develop joint technologies, and create alliance strong enough to defend both our worlds." Zara looked around the table at these three beings who had become so important to her in such a short time. Her beloved grandmother, healing and growing stronger by the hour. Nith, the alien healer, whose kindness transcended species boundaries. And Draven, the man who was quickly claiming her heart with his strength, compassion, and dedication to protecting others. "Then that's what we'll do," she said firmly. "We'll prepare together." As if sensing the moment's importance, Nith stood and moved to the window. Outside, the storm had cleared, and the first light of dawn was painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. "A new day begins," they said in their musical voice, "and with it, a new chapter in the story of two worlds." Draven moved to stand beside Zara, his hand finding hers naturally. "Are you ready for this? Once we take the next step, there's no going back to your old life." Zara looked at her grandmother, who nodded encouragingly, then up into Draven's silver eyes. In them, she saw not just partnership in their mission, but the promise of something deeper and more lasting. I've never been more ready for anything in my life, she said. And as the sun rose over the city, painting their small apartment in golden light, Zara felt the first stirrings of a love that would span the stars and change the destiny of two worlds forever. The healing had begun, but so had something far more powerful and transformative. The age of cooperation between humans and aliens was about to dawn, and at its heart would be a love story that proved the strongest force in the universe was the connection between souls, regardless of the worlds they came from. 3 weeks had passed since that life-changing night in her grandmother's apartment, and Zara's world had expanded beyond anything she could have imagined. She now divided her time between her medical studies, caring for the rapidly improving grandmother May, and working at Stellar Technologies' hidden facility, learning about alien medicine and technology that seemed like magic, but it was the growing connection with Draven that occupied most of her thoughts. Standing in the observation deck of the underground facility, Zara watched through reinforced windows as human and Valdorian scientists worked side by side in the main laboratory. The sight still filled her with wonder. Beings from different worlds, sharing knowledge and working toward common goals with a harmony that seemed almost too good to be true. The integration has been remarkable, Draven said, joining her at the window. Even after spending nearly every day together, his presence still made her heart skip. When I first started this program, I never imagined we'd achieve this level of cooperation so quickly. Zara turned to study his profile as he watched the activity below. Over the past weeks, she had learned so much about him. His dedication to bridging the gap between species, his gentle leadership style that inspired loyalty rather than demanded it, his quiet moments of vulnerability when he spoke about his lost sister. You've created something beautiful here, she said softly. Draven's silver eyes met hers, and she saw something there that made her breath catch. We've created something beautiful, Zara. None of this would have been possible without you. Before she could respond, the soft chime of the facility's communication system interrupted them. Dr. Kieran Blake, Caven's head researcher, appeared on the holographic display with barely contained excitement. Captain Steele, Miss Chen, you need to see this immediately. We've just received a priority transmission from the Valdorian homeworld. They hurried to the main communication chamber, where a three-dimensional image was already materializing. In the center of the room, the figure that appeared was unlike any Valdorian Zara had met before. It's taller and more regal, with silver-blue skin that seemed to shimmer with its own inner light and elaborate bioluminescent patterns that pulsed in complex rhythms. Greetings, Earth allies, the figure said in a voice like distant thunder and ocean waves. I am Princess Vexara of the Third Royal House of Valdoria. I come bearing urgent news that affects both our worlds. Nith, who had been working nearby, immediately dropped into what Zara recognized as a formal bow. Your Highness, we are honored by your presence. Princess Vexara's large, luminous eyes scanned the assembled group before settling on Zara with unmistakable interest. So this is the human hybrid whose genetic awakening has been reported throughout our empire? Fascinating. Heat flooded Zara's cheeks under the alien princess's intense scrutiny. Your Highness, I'm not sure I understand. Your recent genetic activation has created ripples throughout the psychic network that connects all Valdorians, Vexara explained. Your bloodline is far more significant than we initially realized. You are descended from the union between a Valdorian noble and a human diplomat from your 19th century. Draven stepped closer to Zara, his protective instincts clearly activated. What does that mean for her? The princess's expression grew grave. It means she may be the key to a formal alliance between our species, an alliance we desperately need. The hologram flickered, and suddenly they could see beyond Vexara to what appeared to be a war room filled with alien beings working frantically at control stations. The Kethmer Empire has accelerated their invasion timeline, the princess continued. Our long-range scouts report a massive fleet assembling just beyond your solar system's outer edge. We plan to strike both Earth and Valdoria simultaneously. Within the next lunar cycle, silence fell over the chamber like a lead blanket. Zara felt Draven's hand find hers, his fingers interlacing with her own in a gesture that somehow grounded her despite the magnitude of what they were hearing. What do you need from us? Draven asked, his voice steady despite the circumstances. It's formal. recognition of alliance from your Earth's governments, combined military planning, and most importantly, the genetic bonding ceremony that will create an unbreakable link between our species. Dr. Blake stepped forward, his scientific mind already working. What kind of genetic bonding ceremony? Princess Vexara's gaze returned to Zara. An ancient ritual that requires a human with strong Valdorian genetic markers to undergo a transformation that will make them a bridge between our species. They would gain the ability to communicate telepathically across vast distances, to understand and translate between our different forms of consciousness, and to channel the collective strength of both species. Zara felt the weight of every eye in the room upon her, and I'm the only one who can do this. Your genetic profile is unique among known human Valdorian hybrids, Nif said gently. The strength of your bloodline, combined with your natural, empathic abilities, makes you the ideal candidate. But there are risks, Vexara added, her honesty both frightening and appreciated. The transformation is irreversible. It would no longer be fully human, though you would retain your essential self. And if the ceremony fails, the psychic backlash could be fatal. Draven's grip on her hand tightened. Absolutely not. There has to be another way. The princess studied him with what seemed like approval. You care deeply for her. This is good. The bonding ceremony requires not just genetic compatibility, but emotional anchoring. A connection to humanity strong enough to prevent the candidate from losing themselves in the collective consciousness. Zara looked up at Draven, seeing the fear and protectiveness in his silver eyes. Over the past weeks, their relationship had deepened beyond mere attraction. They had shared long conversations about their hopes and dreams, quiet moments of comfort when the weight of their responsibilities felt overwhelming, and increasingly frequent touches that spoke of growing intimacy. What exactly would this bonding ceremony involve? She asked, though part of her already suspected the answer. A life partner, Vexara replied. Someone whose love and commitment could serve as an anchor point during the transformation. The ceremony binds not just the hybrid to both species, but the hybrid to their chosen mate. It is, in essence, a marriage ceremony that transcends the boundaries between worlds. The implications hung in the air like suspended lightning. Zara felt her heart racing as she processed what the princess was suggesting. It's not just a transformation that would make her partially alien, but a marriage ceremony witnessed by beings from two different worlds. She looked at Draven and saw her own feelings reflected in his expression. Love, fear, hope, and determination all warring for dominance. They had been dancing around their growing feelings for weeks, both sensing the depth of connection between them, but hesitant to name it. How long do we have to decide? Draven asked. 3 days, Vexar replied. I am traveling to Earth aboard our fastest diplomatic vessel. We are to perform the ceremony and begin military preparations. It must happen before the Kethmer fleet enters your solar system. After the transmission ended, the chamber fell into stunned silence. Finally, Dr. Blake cleared his throat. Should begin preparing briefings for the world leaders. This is going to require approval from every major government on Earth. The others dispersed to begin their various preparations. Zara and Draven found themselves alone in the observation room. The weight of the decision before them felt almost crushing. Zara, Draven began, but she stopped him with a gentle touch to his lips. Before you say anything, I need you to know something, she said, her voice trembling slightly. These past weeks with you have been the happiest of my life. Not just because of what we're accomplishing here, but because of who you are. Your kindness, your strength, your dedication to protecting others. I've fallen in love with you, Draven, his silver eyes widened, and then he was pulling her into his arms, holding her as if she were precious beyond measure. I love you too, he whispered against her hair, more than I thought it was possible to love anyone. But I can't ask you to risk your life for this. Zara pulled back to look into his face. You're not asking, I'm choosing. Not just because the fate of two worlds depends on it, though it does. But because I can't imagine facing any future without you by my side. The ceremony? It's essentially a marriage proposal being made by an alien princess, Draven said with a shaky laugh. Not exactly how I imagined this conversation going. Is that what this is? A proposal? Draven's expression grew serious as he cupped her face in his hands. Zara Chen, I love you more than life itself. I love your compassion, your intelligence, your refusal to give up on the people you care about. Will you marry me? Will you bind your life to mine and help me build a bridge between the stars? Tears of joy streamed down Zara's face as she nodded. Yes, she whispered. Yes to all of it. Their kiss was interrupted by a gentle cough from the doorway. They turned to see Grandmother May standing there, looking healthier and more vibrant than she had in years, with Nith beside her. I hope we're not interrupting anything important, May said with a knowing smile. Actually, Grandmother, we just got engaged, Zara said, unable to keep the joy from her voice despite the circumstances. May clapped her hands together in delight. Wonderful, this alien transformation ceremony. When is it happening, you heard? My dear child, my hearing has been enhanced along with everything else. Plus, Nith has been keeping me informed. May moved closer, taking both Zara's and Draven's hands in hers. I want you to know that I'm proud of you both. You're choosing love over fear, cooperation over conflict. That's exactly what this universe needs. Nith stepped forward, their luminescent patterns pulsing with what Zara had learned to recognize. As deep emotion, the ceremony will be beautiful, they said in their musical voice. It's a celebration of love that transcends species, witnessed by beings from multiple worlds. You will be making history. Over the next 2 days, preparations moved. At a frantic pace, world leaders were briefed. Military officials began coordination with Valdorian defense forces. And scientists from both species worked around the clock to prepare the technology needed for the bonding ceremony. But for Zara, the most important moments were the quiet ones with Draven. They talked long into the nights about their hopes for the future, their fears about the transformation, and their absolute certainty that whatever came next, they would face it together. Are you scared? Draven asked, on the night before Princess Vexara's arrival, as they stood in his rooftop garden, looking up at the stars. Terrified, Zara admitted, but also excited. We're about to become part of something bigger than ourselves, something that could change the destiny of entire civilizations. Draven pulled her closer, his arms wrapping around her from behind. Whatever happens tomorrow, whatever you become, I want you to know that I love you exactly as you are, human, hybrid, or something new entirely. Zara leaned back against his chest, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. And I love you for seeing the person I could become and helping me find the courage to embrace it. Above them, the stars seemed to pulse with anticipation, as if the universe itself was holding its breath for what was to come. Tomorrow would bring transformation, ceremony, and the beginning of a new era of cooperation between worlds. But tonight, they were simply two people in love, preparing to take a leap of faith that would echo across the cosmos.